want to get your take on the Guardiola stuff. Obviously, thinks the media, and as a member of the media, and I know that you literally do support Liverpool, so yes. You know it does back up his case somewhat.
Yeah, he's got me there. Yeah. He's absolutely got me. Thanks to rights, hasn't he? Yeah, I mean, it's give good content, hasn't it, for the media for the last few days. I always think it's hard sometimes. I think you go too far the other way sometimes. I think people think there's a plan behind everything. And I think Jurgen handled it quite well on Monday, wasn't it, when he said, oh, you know, sometimes you get a camera shoved in front of your face and you say something and you wouldn't say it if you got the opportunity again in a few hours' time. And he done it at Tottenham. I actually watched his BT interview in the press room at Anfield, and I sort of winced. And it's not really it wasn't particularly bad, I don't think, what he said, but I really like it when managers don't offer up anything after a game like that where they're disappointed. So, you know, I listened to Monday Night Club and Chris Sutton's talking about Klopp being a sore loser, and you think, yeah, you know,
you've given all of those lowest common denominator, lowest hanging fruit.
You give that ammunition pundits with just a little comment, and I don't see what the end game is. You know, I don't think. Antonio Conte's not going to go, do you know what, I think I should change my style here or whatever. And I don't think anyone who matters disagreed with them in that sense. So he's not having to convince anyone. You know, like people weren't sort of sitting there going, why didn't Liverpool win this game? Yeah, and you know, what have you failed? I need to sort of deflect. I don't think he needed to do it. So I understood it in the sense of frustration, but it was disappointing. The Guardiola one, I think you have to say that is planned, because I think it was pre-match. I'm pretty sure it was pre-match.
But
it wasn't in the pressurized situation of you know, explain this away. You know, it was either after a 5-0 win or before a 5-0 win, and it was clearly the intent was to make a point and maybe to influence coverage or to influence, you know, punditry or that kind of thing. Which I find funny. I've got a theory on this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there will be a proliferation of Manchester City pundits coming in the next few years. Micah Richards is probably the first one in there. You know, I can imagine. You know, I'm trying to think of players, but there'll be players. You know, we'll see. I don't know, Gael Clichy or Kolo Touré. You know, players like that. Yaya Touré, Vincent Kompany, Joe Hart. You know, I can imagine players like that, and that will come. The reason there's no Manchester City pundits at the moment is because it's not the same club. So what insight can Danny Tiatto and Sean Gota and Paul Dickov and Gerard Vikens and Nicky Weaver give on this Manchester City? They can talk about Manchester City as a club, as an entity.
They are the kind of guys like you wheel off for FA Cups almost. You know what I mean? Like who you know, like you get random players who've got some knowledge of a particular game or whatever, but not.
They'll do the old supporters club dinners where they talk about Main Road and what it was like, and that's brilliant. You know, that's not dismissing their careers, it's not dismissing the club. It's just what can they add to that? You know, they can. Some of them weren't even in the Premier League playing for Manchester City, so it's difficult to get players like that into the media. It's difficult. I mean, as I say, Richards is everywhere. You know, like and is openly City, and there's no problem with that. You know, he's admittedly. Or admits that he's biased in that regard, but there will be more of that to come. The reason with Liverpool is Liverpool has always been a club of that level. So if you've played for Liverpool, your profile is high all the time. It's not, you know, with the greatest respect, look, you don't see Paul Konchesky on Sky, you don't see Raul Meireles or Christian Poulsen or Bjorn Torkvarm. You don't see them doing the big gigs. You know, the people who are speaking tend to have achieved stuff at Liverpool.
Good examples, Everton, and how Leon Osman is like the de facto Everton pundit, and then you get a bit of Cahill every now and again.
You've got Lineker, you know, sort of dips in and out, doesn't he? Which is hard to, you know, so even that's sort of hard to associate sometimes. And you got, you know, but yeah, it's true. You know, it's who would City have? Who's their sort of Graham Souness equivalent?
Yeah.
In you know, who they could have in the media, I wouldn't even know. You know, I wouldn't even be able to sort of. It would be someone from the 70s probably. You know, and I don't really think Mike Summerby's going to be sort of sitting there and doing Sky or that kind of thing. You know, so
It's why they get Noel Gallagher and Liam Gallagher involved with so much stuff, because they're bigger profile than actually people who played football for Man City.
And the other thing as well is, and it's obvious, I mean, I'm not speaking out of turn about our goal correspondent, but he'd tell you, you know, the interest in City is limited, you know, unless it's an earth-shattering story in terms of, I mean, I'm sure Haaland signing would have done stuff. I'm sure the Aguero moment would have done stuff. But generally, City buy good players, play good football, and win.
Yeah,
and that's not always a great story, you know. Whereas Liverpool have dramatic finals, they have dramatic sort of moments in games. They lose 3-0 in the semi-final of a Champions League and come back and win.
Their adversity was a long time ago, and
you know,
it almost
the
happened to a
stadium
different
lends itself
club.
more to colour when you're a TV director or you're a podcast or you're you know, it just is a bigger club, same as Manchester United, same as Arsenal, you know. I mean, same as Everton. I would argue historically comfortably. You know, there's a lot of reasons why City aren't the biggest show in town at the moment, you know, and I don't really know why it bothers Guardiola so much.
Yeah, because
he maybe feel he doesn't get enough credit.
Well, what I sort of postulated on this is because the job is still the same for him. He still has to train, he still has to bring the players up, he still has to set them out, he still has to live the matches, same as he did with Bayern and same as he did with Barcelona, but he's not getting the same level of global pundits like you know, sort of pouring after him because, and of course he's up against Jurgen Klopp again still.
Well, I mean, here's one for you to ask Pep Guardiola, or, you know, to throw back at Pep Guardiola. So when he's starting out his managerial career at 2008, and you said to him, you'll manage Barcelona, Bayern Munich and Manchester City, I think he'd have gone, what? You know, like, the first two, Manchester, I'm going to you know, why?
What's happened there?
Yeah, how's that happened? You know, so that's what 14 years ago he started out on the road to management at Barcelona, and Manchester City were, I think, I might be right in saying that maybe just about to be taken over by Abu Dhabi. So of course they're not going to be the sort of, you know, they're not going to have that incredible, deep-rooted, historical sort of, you know, say support, but coverage is the way to put it. He wouldn't have heard of these players I mentioned earlier, you know. So he's new to the party, and so are the media as well, and so are the pundits, and so are the, you know, the fan channels and all these kind of people. It's a new entity. I haven't just finished watching the Daniel Craig Bond films last night. Not the light-hearted escapism I was looking for instead of avoiding the Man City result, by the way. But you didn't do it over a bank holiday weekend, did you? Like Mr. Partridge.
No, but there's something to be said for that thing of like what Pep Guardiola is. He's like, there's some, you know, multi-billion mastermind behind it all who's decided to build this lavish and elaborate sort of like base and fill it with the most genius scientists and all that kind of thing, and they're just doing a job, you know. And for him, he's just been hired in to do this. And you know, and I think that he does. And I know he's not daft. He's aware of it. He's not stupid. He knows who he's working for. Yeah. But he would like. He just wants to be judged on the merits of what he's doing with the resources he's got available to him.
But I mean, to throw another angle to it, you know, if the line of questioning for Pep was, look, you're a genius, your team is so good, you know, they're too good for anyone, brilliant, your coaching is just, your methods are untouchable. He'd dismiss that. There'll be a problem with that. You know, you're being disrespectful to Jurgen Klopp, you're being disrespectful to Thomas Tuchel. You know. We've heard him how many times he describes opponents as incredible in the work that they do. I've heard him say that he couldn't do what Bielsa did at Leeds and what Graham Potter does at Brighton and things like that. So
he's not being given the opportunity for humility, is he, in that regard? Because people aren't treating him like. I think he wants to be put on this pedestal so that he can talk himself down from the pedestal, whereas he's not getting put up it. So instead, he's having to prove himself again and again and again and again, and he's having to turn the screw and do more and do more and do more.
And listen, I could see why, if you were a City player, City fan, City employee, and you have a win and you batter Wolves last night, and then you turn on Sky Sports News this morning and there's 3 pundits in there and they're saying, so Liverpool-Chelsea Saturday, you know, like, cup final, can Liverpool do the treble, you know, or I tell you what, Sadio Mane, you know, what a goal at it, you know, I can see that, why that you go, Jesus, what more do you want us to do? But at the other time is sort of, I don't really get like, is that what matters to him, or is it winning? Because I think we know the answer. That it's winning and it's playing the way that they do.
I saw it up close at the Managers Awards a couple of years ago after we won the Champions League, and he's there, and there's his 4 trophies laid out in front. Everyone can look at, and there's Jurgen's 1.
Yeah.
But everyone's like, it's Jurgen, and it's the Champions League. Oh my God, Jurgen and the Champions League, and there he's there with his big beam and smile, having a great time, and Peps just like, thanks.
I think maybe as well, there's probably an element to it that maybe doesn't relate to the emotional side of football. The idea that there is a story behind things, and people like narratives, and the idea that there is personality there. The idea that a manager can be as intense as he is on the sideline, but then can have a smile as well, and relax and drink a beer, and open up a little bit and show a different side. I don't know whether he does it
all the time, but I did feel like he was being overly cuddly with Phil Foden when he was coming on the pitch the other day, and I'd never noticed him being that type of manager before. Whereas Jurgen does that; he's all over his players, isn't he? Like he loves to get kinetic with his footballers before they go on the pitch or whatever. But it reminded me of that time when Mourinho was thought of as not being connected to Man United, and then he went and watched a youth game in the stands. And I was like, oh mate, like,
I mean, I don't know, I didn't see that, but I don't know. It's just
anyway. Bless him.
Yeah, bless him. I mean, listen, he's given us 10 minutes of content there. He's given us much more of that in the last few days for the rest of the media. I find it a little bit sort of roll my eyes a bit. Even when Jurgen gets involved in stuff like that, I think, oh, just leave it now. I can't be bothered with listening to Gabby Agbonlahor and people like that sort of dissecting press conferences, and you think,
there's very little to. I mean, that's the problem. Is that I think people tend to judge press conferences based on the written version of it rather than the visual or the audio version.
Or worse, the sort of, and Goal do it. So don't have this as the one sentence quote. So it's just like a graphic which says, where Liverpool have only won 1 Premier League in 30 years, and that's as if he's just said that sort of, he said it in his sleep sort of thing. Sorry, you guys, I've talked out loud there.
Like Klopp just saying, I don't like the way they play. And but then he immediately says like, it's literally just my personal opinion.
Yeah,
literally just
that. It's my problem.
It's just like, but you're right. There's no value in that, because what would we talk about? And especially what would TalkSport talk about, and what would all of the
Sky Sports News. I mean, the 24-hour rolling coverage means that there has to be more attached to everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm just finally on the Guardiola stuff. Do you think there's more support for Liverpool in the media than there is for Manchester City? Because I don't think in this country, I don't think more people want Liverpool to win than Man City.
No.
And I one of the things I asked on the podcast this week was, is Guardiola confusing nobody loves Man City with everybody loves Liverpool?
Possibly. Listen, what I'll say is, and I've travelled up and down the country, I've travelled all over Europe, the world, watching Liverpool. I could name you a handful of clubs that I've ever seen face Liverpool. I think we talked about it on a recent show, Crystal Palace. I think we said that. I said it was the favourite atmosphere. Who don't sing about Liverpool, anti-Liverpool. We've seen it. We know some of the chants to get sung, but generally there's a lot. How many clubs sing Steve Gerrard? That was City won the league as a benefit to that. So that what does that say about people's opinion of Liverpool? I think the media follows the meat. They follow the meat, and the meat is Liverpool, Manchester United, Arsenal. I think they're the 3 stories in town. Chelsea, I think, have elevated themselves in there over a bit of a longer period than City, especially with what's been going on recently. But I think that's you're going to have to do an awful lot of work to get into that cartel of, European wise, I say Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Juventus, Liverpool, Manchester United. I think that those sort of clubs are well established as being the story. Some of them have dedicated newspapers for them. The amount of look, we're on Redmen TV. There's many others.
The Manchester City equivalents are often one fella in the bedroom.
And
that's just where they're at.
Exactly. I mean, maybe in years to come they will get there, but it'll be in years to come.
Well, that was my sort of final thought on that. Really was, it might be a little cause of annoyance to Guardiola that he's doing all this work, but all he's really building are foundations in some regards. And that's not strictly true, because obviously Mancini put some of these in place, and Pellegrini as well, and obviously going back to Shinawatra and Keegan and all kinds, put the early steps in. But he won't be the guy who puts City into the history books in terms of like he'll be thought of in high regard. But Ferguson took Manchester United and took them to the pinnacle, took them to the most decorated football club in the country. He won't be able to do that at Man City. At some point he'll move on, and they'll either carry on or they'll go into the wilderness for a bit before they come back out. And
just as well, I mean, it's just it's just a bigger club. I know I keep saying it, and it's not to dismiss or to just be confrontational. It's just a bigger club. So clubs like United, Liverpool, Arsenal, I think definitely fit into that. I know I keep mentioning them, but they're the three in English football for me. Always will be. Is that they have a long list of these legendary figures that you have to live up to. Pep Guardiola, you just mentioned Kevin Keegan was City manager. That was what? 15 years ago, Sven-Göran Eriksson was managing them. Mark Hughes was managing them in this era.
Yeah,
it's not a sort of a heritage that you would associate and say, Pep Guardiola is eclipsing these unbelievable managers down. Jurgen Klopp is matching and eclipsing people like Bill Shankly and Bob Paisley. Well, Alex Ferguson was eclipsing Matt Busby and those kind of people.
And there's a reason why their statues are all of the players of just finishing that current crop. There's lots of mentions of Sean Goater inside the stadium.
Yeah, and rightly so.
Yeah,
but it's a different club. It's the same club, but it's a different world.
Yeah,
within the club. It's night and day, and it's if you were doing now an all-time greatest City team, I think I could name you 10 of them.
Yep.
And probably all of them are still playing.
Yeah. It's probably not far off. Hey, thank you so much for checking that out. The full show, Journo Insight with Neil Jones, is available to stream right now on Redmen Plus. Head to redmenplus.com for more insight into Sadio Mane being linked with Bayern Munich, our Liverpool on the verge of signing a Scottish right back, and the latest update on the fitness and availability of Fabinho. Yes, redmenplus.com for Journo Insight each and every week.